Welcome back to episode 83. I had to look to see which one.
I know. I don't even know what day it is.
This is take two.
Take two.
We tried to record this earlier today, and it was a series of unfortunate events. We had Gordy was crying. Our cat was crying incessantly. It started pouring and thundering. We had windows open downstairs that water was coming through, and it was just like a whole...
Which may have been why the cat was crying.
Probably. She was trying to you guys, there's water coming in the windows.
What are you even doing?
What's happening?
I have my cabana wear on. If you're not watching
We actually look cute together. We have a kind of a
it's
similar.
similar theme. But I always think of Frank Costanza.
Yes. And where's my cabana wear?
And his cabana wear. This actually, I did buy this very shirt when we went to Mexico.
That is true. So it was kind of...
It was kind of like cabana wear.
It was.
We didn't go on a cruise, though.
We're not cruise people.
We are not cruise people. I think we even talked about that.
We have talked about that, but in case you missed it, we're not cruise people.
We're not cruise people.
So we just decided just to forget that.
We deleted
it in a second.
With extreme prejudice.
And the other thing, too, is we had just come in from outside. We were in our pool for a little bit. We were disheveled.
Disheveled.
And we're just like, who cares, kind of thing. And then in the afterthought, we're like, well, let's just get cleaned up and then take two. So I think I looked much better in this.
You looked fine before.
Thank you.
I didn't. I looked gross. But I just want to clarify that I did not shave. Sundays are the no shaving day.
And that's okay.
You can even hear that.
I can.
Yeah. That's
ASMR.
Yes. Very good.
We're not doing that either. It is June 8th, 2025. We had a great weekend, actually. We took advantage of the weather yesterday, which was good.
Point number one.
Our oldest daughter, Emma, got engaged a couple weeks ago. So that is super exciting news in our family.
It is.
And they've been together for a lot of years, so it is not something that was unexpected, right. But it's happening now, and very excited for them. And they came over last night, and we had a barbecue. A successful barbecue.
Yeah, that's true.
The last two times we've grilled out, we've done burgers, which I like to call Burger Town, and we do enough for leftovers for the next few nights. So I don't care, because I will do that. It's not a bad thing to have a burger several nights in a row, and it's easy to come home from work and be like, it's Burger Town. It's already done. So
you think she's joking? She literally says that.
I do.
Every time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so this time we decided to do chicken. So that turned out really good and super easy.
You can't really call it Chicken Town, though.
You can't call it Chicken Town.
It doesn't really work.
I'll have to think of a name for that. But it was a good dinner, and a little too cool to sit outside on the patio. We had chips and salsa party out there. But then,
everything's a party with you.
It is. It's a party or a town.
It's party town.
Yeah, it's a party town. So we had to eat inside. So that part I was bummed about, because I just love eating outside. But it was cool outside for June. In the evening, which is fine.
But what else did we do yesterday for the first time of the season?
We went in our pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the weather wasn't all bad.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we've had our pool open almost a month, and
it was May 12th.
Yeah.
When they opened it up. And
we knew, obviously, having them open it and then us taking care of it every week, you're not getting in there, because I believe the first time we took the temperature in there was in the 50s.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, and for those of you who don't know, if you have a pool, you never drain it all the way to the bottom. It's never like empty. It's below where the skimmer is. So all you have to do is they put chemicals in there, they vacuum, get any debris up, and then we just fill it with water with our hose. So it's not something like you have to wait days and days for your pool to fill. Not that I don't even know how long it would take if you started from scratch.
A
couple days.
It would take a long time, because if you recall, we did, when we had to replace the liner, we essentially did fill it.
Yes, we did.
The guy who installed it started the process, but we ended up having to.
That is a true story. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very exciting, but it literally has not been warm enough for long enough to keep it, the temperature in the pool. We don't have a heater for the pool. However, we have a solar cover, which will capture the sun. We keep it on there and then pull it off. So it's 79 degrees, so that's plenty fine. And once we got in there yesterday, it was sunny, beautiful. But then we had to get ready for our daughter and their partner come over, so we didn't have a lot of time in there. Today, weather was just not on our side. So we got in there, and even though it said on our phones, it said it was raining. We look outside, it's not raining.
The phone lied.
Let's just get in there because we're going to be in water, so who cares if it's raining?
Come on over, Gordy.
Hi, Gordy.
Now she's starting up again.
There's the smugness. And then, of course, it started to thunder. And then once that happens,
that was the sign.
It's like you're at a public pool. They blew the whistle. Everyone get out of the pool.
I need to get a whistle.
Yeah,
exactly. That I can blow.
Yeah,
to tell
if anybody's running on the deck.
Yeah.
If I'm doing so.
No cannonballs. But yeah, it was nice today. But then the rain came, and oh boy, it was loud.
Yeah.
We couldn't record our podcast.
Yeah, and it was just a hot mess. So we're back. Take two.
Take two.
So it was.
We have to do this.
Yeah. Take two. We do need to get one of those things. What do they call it?
I used to know. Now I forget.
I know.
Put it in the comments if you know.
Yeah, and we'll have to go on Amazon and see if we can purchase one.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
But I can't believe it's already June 8th already. It's so crazy that time is going by fast.
Did we say this is episode 83? I don't even know.
I can't. This is episode 83.
We did.
And I also want to say, which we mentioned before in our first take, that if you're watching this on Instagram, you'll watch the first 15 minutes before it gets
unceremoniously cut off.
Yeah, and if you wanted to watch the whole thing, you're going to have to go to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And if you're like, I don't know how to find your YouTube channel, you can go to our website, in the shadow of the eveningtrees.com. You can see all 83 episodes. There's a link at the bottom that you can listen to it. And then we're now posting that we're doing this on YouTube. We also have the link to our YouTube channel.
The link to the YouTube channel is also, it's on our Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It is, we put a link in every time, and the notes we do on our website. It also shows up in the Apple podcasts notes.
On many platforms.
So you have no excuse.
Yeah, if you can't find it. No, I'm just kidding. Another thing we were talking about is on our Instagram, if you really want to do a deep dive, and just go down. We have probably over 150 episodes. I want to say, not of this podcast, but of a video that we did starting in 2020. We posted 3 times a week on that. And that was a long project too. And so if you want to watch some of our earlier videos.
And we were talking about we don't bother putting, well, I shouldn't say it that way, that's a bad way to put it, but we don't do a very technologically advanced podcast or anything like that, as you can tell by the lovely background, which, it doesn't have any nice images. We don't put video behind us. We don't have a scrolling thing.
We don't have pop-ups. We don't have sound effects.
We could do sound effects. But when we were doing the videos initially on our just on Instagram, we did all kinds of things. We tried to do the sound separately from the video because we'd use the iPhone or the iPad to record the video, but we thought we could get a higher quality sound if we used a different app. Oh, there's dogs barking in the neighborhood.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. And then we'd have to sync up the audio and the video. So you load the video into iMovie and then delete the sound from that, and then upload the sound and then try to match it up. And it was a whole different thing.
It was a whole to-do.
And you would do the finger snap to try to, as a marker.
Right.
Which actually worked, as it turns out. Because on the audio track, you'd see a little spike. And then you could match up that little spike to when Jennifer snapped her fingers, and then usually it would work. I forgot about that.
I did too.
That was pretty
smart of us.
Yeah. You came up with that on your own. I take no credit for that.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore.
So the sound is what you get.
Yeah, we just do the sound on the iPhone. Although you may see that I probably shouldn't touch it. because for the audio version, we're recording it into GarageBand on the computer.
Right.
So, but that's, we don't have to worry about syncing them up because we just post the video from the phone separately and the audio from the GarageBand track. That's how we were able to do our fancy little introductory music.
Exactly. Which is David playing the guitar.
I wrote that.
Your original soundtrack.
Those few bars of
it's copyrighted, so don't use it.
So don't even think about it.
Also, if you go do a deep dive on our Instagram and go way, way, way down, you'll notice the background is our old house. So it is not current because we had stained glass window behind us, and we don't live there anymore. So if you're like, I don't live there anymore. I don't see that now because we don't live there anymore.
We bought this lovely house in the middle of nowhere, which has a pool.
It does, and it has lots of trails by us.
It does have nice trails by us. In fact, that's another thing we did yesterday is we did a little walk with our group, and that was quite lovely. It is not in the middle of nowhere. There are actually a fair number of people who live around us, but it's very far from
civilization.
Well, that implies that people around us are uncivilized.
That's true. But here's the thing. So where we grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, is a suburb that is very centrally located to everything. And that's, I think, was appealing to a lot of people, us at least. We grew up there, so we had no choice. That's where we were born, and that's where we were raised. But it was a perfect backdrop because you were, less than a half-hour train ride into downtown Chicago. You could, any of your friends that lived in the northern suburbs, you could be there relatively shortly. South side, north side, wherever. You were just kind of like, it was just essentially located, just a very convenient place to live. And when we first moved out here, I mean, both of us were working from home. Our kids are grown. It didn't really, not that it didn't matter where you lived, but it just kind of was like one of those things where it's just like, this is fine, kind of thing. But then when reality sets in, like if you want to go somewhere, it's going to take you 2 hours to get into downtown Chicago if you're driving.
That's true.
My sister drove from her house to downtown Chicago. It wasn't 2.5 hours, or 2 hours, which I told you, 2.5 hour drive in traffic on a Friday, and it was like not even like, well, it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. It's still insane. It is insane. So you kind of have to deal with that kind of hardship of having to just get in your car for a while just to go somewhere, which is not that far. It's not that many miles.
No, it's really not. We were kind of spoiled too in our old location because there were two separate L lines that would take you into the loop in downtown Chicago, and a third commuter train that went further out west into the suburbs, but came through Oak Park. There was a stop in Oak Park and would take you to the main train station in downtown Chicago. So you really had like unlimited ways of getting around. Now we do have a commuter train that will take you to downtown Chicago, but you got to drive 15 minutes. 15 minutes
to the train, take the train, which is like an hour and 15 minutes. And then when I did have to go to my office a few times for meetings, whatever, then it was a 2 hour commute, basically.
And you can't do that for everything. That train doesn't run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't necessarily want to do it if you're going to we've talked about the Lambda Legal Gala we went to in downtown Chicago at the Art Institute. We really had to drive to get to that, and that the event was lovely. The driving was a fiasco there and back.
Yeah.
No slight to Lambda Legal.
For sure.
It was a great location to have the event. Just happened to be super inconvenient for us.
Yeah, and the other benefit, I guess you can say, is there's a lot of shopping by us. So that is within 5 minutes.
That is true.
1 billion stores, and I'm not joking, 1 billion stores that
1 billion.
1 billion. So it's kind of like a weird, it's kind of rural, but still lots of things, lots of shops and everything. But in a quick radius, it's like farmland. So it's very weird.
It is. The only thing that's convenient is if you want to go to Milwaukee, it's very easy to get to Milwaukee, which is not, we've talked about it before. Milwaukee's a great city.
Yes.
It's definitely an underrated city. People don't necessarily know.
Yeah, I definitely, I wouldn't mind going to the zoo this weekend.
This weekend?
Right now.
We're going to be in an entirely different state this
Yes,
coming weekend.
exactly. So we, but I would like to see the Milwaukee Zoo because I've never been there.
It is a good zoo.
And I love animals, so in all forms. We actually have a little farm going on in our backyard right now because, well, three events. We have the bunnies, which we've always had. Now we got chipmunks, and usually we don't see the chipmunks. They're very elusive. Now they're all over the place.
They're very active.
And a whole family of them, and hanging out with the bunnies in the backyard. And then now in our front yard, we have a robin that made a nest in the top portion of our downspout of our gutter. So just like this much room, if you're listening, about the length of my hand, basically is how much room they had to build this nest and everything. And I've been following that saga for several weeks because I could take my selfie stick, put my phone on there, and then like hover over the nest to see what was going on inside there. And so we did see 2 robin's eggs, and then wondering like when are they gonna hatch and stuff like that. But now in the last week, anytime we would open our front porch door, the bird would fly away. And then I was like, okay, cool, let me get my phone really quickly. But then it was like not leaving at all. So I was just like, oh my gosh, they're born. So then Friday when I came home from work, I would always like, as soon as I pulled in the driveway, I would see the robin, and then I just saw a fuzz. And I was like, that's a baby.
It had top of its head.
So there's 2 babies in there, and so I said that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna disturb them any more than I have, and because then I was like thinking, what if you just like, I have like my selfie stick, it just snaps onto my phone and everything, but I was just like had a bad premonition of like, what if and then my phone drops in it, and I was just like messed up the whole thing. So I was just like, I have done as much as I investigating as I want. They're born. They're going to be fine. They're going to fly away in a few weeks and get on their way.
We spend a lot of time worrying about dropping phones. That's like a major thing. I don't know how it came up on our walk, but somebody mentioned something about you taking a picture over the edge of a bridge. And then I had this flashback to when we were crossing the Brooklyn Bridge on a trip to New York, and you were taking pictures, and in my mind I just kept like, I could sense you did not drop your phone, but I could just sense it because the pedestrian part of the bridge is up above the traffic. And
I'm sure it's happened to many people.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. But in my mind, I just kept like, I was sensing that you were.
Well, and that's why I like to have like the pop socket on there, because it's like just an additional thing to like hold it if you're doing that. But yes, it's this woman was like, we're worried that we were gonna like drop our phone into
But that did not happen. I was not. That didn't occur to me when we were on the bridge. But being on the Brooklyn Bridge, because of the height, you're up pretty high above the water, and you're up even pretty high above the traffic, really, when you think about it. And plus, you have the sense of being up really high because you're looking at the buildings on either side of the East River. And so, like, I had this like physical sense that it was about to fall. It was a little unnerving.
It was.
I like doing that little walk because it's kind of cool, but. For some
you have
reason.
to do it at least once if you're in New York. That's high ticket item. And that's the other thing too is, we were kind of planning, time off this summer. So we're going out of town next weekend. Then we actually had the idea of like taking 2 days off the day before 4th of July, because 4th of July is on Friday. So think about that. If you haven't thought about that, take a couple vacation days. You've got 5 days off, 2 days vacation, 5 days off. And then, Labor Day.
What are you, a life coach now? You're telling people how to plan their vacations.
There are people that say like how to plan, like how to do days off like that with your PTO to like stretch it out the most. Anywho, we have a family wedding.
You couldn't just figure it out by looking at the calendar?
It's nice when somebody figures out for you.
Okay.
I'm figuring out for you guys right now. So then
I don't want to invalidate anybody's whatever.
We have a wedding in September. We're going to in Iowa, and then Labor Day weekend is on a Monday. Take that Friday, 4-day weekend. Also, not very much time off. So
that's true.
But it's gonna go by so fast. And also on my vision board, I also put New York City on there. So I don't know if that could be something planned in September or November. I don't even know. Just thinking
We
ahead
could
for a
go
weekend.
sort of around the holidays and go Christmas shopping in New York.
And can we go ice skating? And
I'm not a good ice skater. I haven't ice skated in years.
yeah,
And the
I haven't
last
either. I would wipe out so hard.
The last time I was on skates was when our youngest daughter was she even in the brownies yet? Or was
I
she,
don't
what's
think so.
the,
Daisies.
Daisies is the pre-brownie thing, and they had a little skating party. If I'm not mistaken, Emma was pretty good on skates.
Yes.
Our oldest. But when we were kids, we ice skated all the time.
Same.
We've talked about this before. My dad would freeze over the backyard so we could skate. But it had been ages and ages and ages. And it's the opposite of riding a bike. It was like I'd never been on ice skates before.
And it hurts.
And it hurts.
Like when I did it one time as an adult, probably when the kids were small, I just remember my ankles were like so sore just from like just doing that. So it wasn't as fun. So maybe, but yeah, that could be interesting.
And my parents had this old timey notion. We had all kinds of ice skates in the house because it was something that people did a lot back in the day. And we had hockey skates and we had figure skates. And my parents had this philosophy that when you were learning to skate, you should start out on not on hockey skates, on figure skates, because, the actual blade is a little bit wider. Hockey skates are designed for speed and agility, and it's a very narrow, very sharp blade. And their theory was that would be a little harder for a kid to get started on. And that may very well be true. But when we did this skating event, when Claire was in Daisies, Emma wanted to wear hockey skates instead. And I just went like, all right, whatever. She was a little bit older then than I was when I first started ice skating. And that may also account for it. But she was whipping around the rink on these hockey skates. And I'm like, screw it, I got to try the hockey skates instead. And they were much easier. So I don't know. I wouldn't advise anybody what to do. But I wonder if my parents had it wrong all along.
I don't know.
Hockey skates may have been a better way to go early on.
I don't know if I've ever asked you this question. So when you did have the ice skating rink in your backyard, did you and your brothers play hockey?
My older brothers did because there were a lot of
nets and everything.
Yeah, there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood, a lot of older boys. Really, at that time, unfortunately, that's kind of the way things were. But a lot of older boys played hockey. So my brothers did with some of the other kids in the neighborhood, but the younger kids didn't. And I never played hockey, like I was never in a league or anything like that. But my older brothers did. Hockey was very popular. I mean, it's kind of popular again now, but it was very popular back then. And then it went through kind of a period of time where it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think it would have been so fun to have an ice skating rink in your backyard. But that there was a whole television related thing where hockey was on network television back in those days. And then for a long period of time, like the Blackhawks were never on TV because the owners they were afraid that if they made the video widely available to like television stations or whatever, then the attendance would go down. And they were more concerned about making money off of the gate at the old, what was the pre-United Center, the Chicago Stadium?
Oh yeah, Chicago Stadium. I was like, what was the name of it?
Yeah. And then eventually the old guy passed away and his son took over and they decided that no, you could make a lot more money off of
because
hockey
then people
on
see it on
television.
TV and say, I have to go.
Yeah, right. And the thing is too, is that by that point, there were a lot of cable stations. The network still didn't broadcast much hockey, but cable stations did, like ESPN and whatever. And so they could make more money that way. And then eventually it became more popular. But there was a period of time where it was just nobody paid any attention to it. It was kind of sad.
And if you have never seen a live hockey game, I only have once, but I went even before you met. It's been many, many years ago. It changed my whole outlook on hockey because I wasn't really like seeing it on TV. You're like, okay, but there it's like so exciting and fun and so fast and furious. And my favorite part is when they would go up against the wall. And if I was like on that other side of the glass, I would be one of the, yeah,
Like David Putty.
I would.
You'd be like
I'd
David
support
Putty.
the team.
Embarrassing.
Just like hit my hand. So if you ever get a chance to see a professional hockey game in person, I highly recommend it.
It is kind of fun.
Although it's just another situation where it's not available to everybody because the price is so high.
That's
so
true.
we've been talked about that before. Growing up in Oak Park, you did a lot. Jump on the L train, go to see a Cubs game. In high school, affordable, you could do that and go to the beach.
We
and
went
have
to Wrigley Field all the time.
Yeah, and now it's just like, do you have a couple $100?
The funny thing about, and now it's not this way at all, but there was a period of time, one of my brothers is a huge hockey fan, and they were he and his wife were pretty consistent hockey goers, whatever. Even back in, I think even back in the days where they played at the stadium, but there was a period of time where there was a rough crowd and people would actually get in fights. Not like, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, I should have looked it up.
Like people in the crowd, like for on opposing teams getting in fisticuffs, or just like getting.
It just was a rough crowd.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from that topic.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, because sports has become so monetized, it's hard for the everyday person to go all the time. So, which is unfortunate. But I would like to see a hockey game at some point.
Yeah. If
again,
the Blackhawks are ever good again.
Yeah, we were just talking about this because we started to watch a few Cubs games on TV, and it's like so foreign to me because I don't know any of the players, I don't know the coach, I don't know any of the, even like you could say that they've won 10 games in a row, and I was like, I have no idea. Because it's just
They
like
are
I am
well
not following it. They are doing well.
They're doing well.
Which is exciting.
It is exciting. They had some down years. They were very good for, obviously, in 2016 won the World Series.
The best year ever.
They went to, they made it to the National League Championship Series several times in a row. Even after 2016, they were doing pretty well for a while. And then it was one of these things where they just dismantled everything. Which seems to happen a lot in Chicago sports. The Bulls did it, the White Sox did it, the Blackhawks did it.
And it's like you take all that time to get the team that you want, and you get the team you want, and you're like, well, let's maybe mix it up a little bit, and then you're like, why do you want to start from the bottom again? I don't understand.
Yeah, and it is frustrating in a way because Theo Epstein went to the Boston Red Sox and he won the World Series with them. They hadn't won in a long time. Eventually came to the Cubs, same thing. But with the Red Sox, they won, 2 or 3 World Series while he was running the team. And then he came to the Cubs, and he was great. He did a great job. But they won the one World Series, and then just a short time later, he's gone. It's kind of like,
right.
But nice to have a similar thing happen here.
Exactly.
But that's an extremely difficult thing to pull off. So
over and over again, yes, for sure. But speaking of June, we also want to say Happy Pride Month, and it is one of the things I was thinking about is. If you can, at least in the area that you're in, find out companies that are LGBTQ plus either owned, friendly, supportive, and things like that. Larger companies, totally easy to find out quickly who is against that, and then don't spend your money there, if you can, because...
Or spend your money in places that are supportive.
Correct,
yes.
Yeah. It's easy to do, and a lot of times you don't know. Chick-fil-A is just one. But a lot of people don't know that is they're anti-LGBTQ+, so we will never get a sandwich there or anything, no fries or nothing. So, but you don't know that unless you do a little bit of research for that. So that's our tip to you. Just find places that are friendly and spend your money there.
And it's really wild how, in the current political environment, so many companies are backing off of things that they supported. And it's sad. It's sad. I mean, people are boycotting Target because Target used to be pretty supportive and then just sort of did a 180.
Caved.
And I don't know. I just don't understand why businesses are just so sensitive to every little ripple, what power do you imagine Donald Trump has over your company because he's a crazy person? I mean, I just
Exactly.
I don't think he really does have that power. And you've
No, he does not.
seen media outlets caving to him. We've seen colleges and universities. We've seen law firms caving to him. That was the most bizarre when all these, he signed these executive orders targeting law firms, and two or three just immediately, big name law firms immediately caved, and then a handful of them, including the firm that I started out with, Jenner and Black, said, no, we're not getting, screw him. And they sued him. And I keep thinking, like, what, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again anyway.
Do it.
What are you thinking? They're hiring largely incompetent people in the Department of Justice. And then they're going to go up against the best law firms in the country with the best known lawyers in the country who are extremely good at what they do, and they think they have a chance in
Right.
federal
It's like,
court.
who do you think's going to win?
Yeah. And needless to say, the law firms that pushed back won. And it was like the most predictable thing imaginable. And I cannot for the life of me understand why any of these other big firms, just from a simple business perspective, what are you telling your clients? We're cowards. We don't really have a backbone. We're gonna defend you in court, but we won't defend ourselves. That's a good strategy.
Yeah, red flag.
So, I don't know. I just saw some big name lawyer who was at one of the firms that caved, left and went to Jenner and Black. So
that's good.
Kudos to J&B.
Exactly. And also, there's tons of Pride events that go on throughout the month. We're obviously live in Chicago area-ish kind of thing, but look in the county that you are from and see what's going on and see if you can participate. And there, we've said this also to a lot of people in that community, especially young kids. Sometimes lose their family over this, kind of thing, which is so unfortunate and so sad that just because of who they are, their immediate family or extended family doesn't accept them, and then they're alone. So they have to find things there. So that's why we always like to, to participate in things just to show her as a parent of trans daughter that we are, we don't care. And it's like, you should love your child no matter what. And you should just know that going in, just let them know too, whatever you want to do and whoever you want to be, whoever you turn out to be is totally fine, because then it gives them the opportunity to say, well, then I'm not afraid to be who I am because my mom and dad will be disappointed. We would never be disappointed, never. So I just feel sorry for there's so many kids out there that in 2025 we're still dealing with this, which is just insane.
Well, and unfortunately too, in the current environment, there's a lot of political actors who are encouraging parents to disown their kids and so forth. So in a lot of ways, we're kind of going backwards, which is just, it happens with every kind of civil rights movement. There are successes and failures, and you move forward a little bit and then you move back a little bit. That's common. And so, I'm not, in one sense, I'm not surprised, but on the other hand, we're really moving backwards right now. And so it's frustrating, but it's all the more reason to just, not give up on it. And it is wild how you see some even sort of left-leaning politicians say, well, maybe we should back off of supporting trans people and gay people and everything like that. Maybe we went too far or whatever. And it's like, well, voters have a sense of whether or not you have a backbone. And if you start to show fear, they sense that, and they're not going to support you. So you may think that you're making some wise political choice by throwing this group under the bus or that group under the bus, but you're not. You're just signaling to the voters that you don't stand for anything. You don't have a backbone. They're always going to be, you can't win every vote. And it's foolish even to try to win every vote. Stand for the things that you believe in. Do your best to explain those things and try to, attract the voters to your side, but at least stand for something. Because nothing is worse or more pathetic than compromising your values and losing anyway. Because that's what's probably going to happen if the Democratic Party in particular doesn't stand on its principles and its values, you're going to end up losing anyway, and all they will have done is disappointed their children and their grandchildren, right?
Right.
Stand for something, and you have a better chance of winning anyway.
That's true.
That's my little lecture for today.
Yeah. So we are just very happy that warm weather is upon us, and that we can. It's finally summer. Hopefully, knock on a fake.
Who was it who wrote that? What was the country song? Oh, it was Clint Black did a song called "Summer's Coming" years ago.
Oh yes, yeah. I actually like that song.
Yeah, although we're beyond summer's coming, it's actually here.
Yes.
Doesn't always feel like it.
Doesn't
first thing in the morning.
Exactly.
I have to say.
When it's in the 50s still in the morning, but it's still been enjoyable.
Yes,
and we're happy that it's summer, and it was a very long winter here.
It was a long winter. Not much snow, but just
but a lot of cold.
Very cold, and just endless. It seemed.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's just like, I understand where people who can will winter somewhere else and come back, because summer in Chicago is actually pretty spectacular, and there's so many things to do outside and get it into. I just still don't think I've seen it a bunch of times now, and I don't even know if you're aware of this. You know how they have the kayaks on the river? So you can the Chicago River. They've got kayak companies that can do that, but now they have ones where you can go out at night and see the fireworks. Oh, but then that's scary. It's dark out. What happens if your kayak goes under, and I don't even know what happens? Like, how do you get back in? Does somebody help you? I don't even know.
Well, I think if you're near downtown, it's going to be pretty well lit.
Probably.
I can't really picture
it just seems it looks really cool, because you're just like on.
It's kind of like a mini Venetian night.
It is.
Venetian night's a big celebration where boats all with all kinds of lights and
decorate,
everything like that go down the river, and there's usually fireworks.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention that, because that was only one of the times we would go downtown to watch Venetian night, and bring a blanket, bring a picnic, and watch all the boats go by. And every time we were driving underneath the post office, there's the Chicago River.
People have no idea what we're talking about.
That's okay, but I would say it every time when I was little. Are there fish in there?
There are fish in there. Well, we know that because when they had the flood in the loop, the underground flood many years ago, there was a reporter standing in like hip waders in the basement level of what was then the State of Illinois Center in downtown Chicago, and he was joking about there were literally fish flopping around, and he was joking about how the old Mayor Daley wanted to clean up the Chicago River to the point where people could go out on their lunch hour and fish for their lunch. So he was saying the old Mayor Daley would be pleased to see the fish were thriving in the Chicago River. I
did see people, and when I worked downtown, that were fishing during the day on there. But I was like, "Hey, are you catching anything too? Do you just throw it back?"
I think they throw it back.
I think you can't eat it.
I don't know.
I wouldn't want to eat it.
I don't think I'd want to eat it. Although it truly is a lot cleaner than it used to be.
Oh, for sure.
Like Lake Michigan as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think I'd want to eat fish out of the Chicago River right downtown.
Yeah, you're like bringing in a fish to your office and like you're scaling it.
But there's a whole, this is about Chicago history, but there's a whole long history of the river and how polluted it was, and how there was a lot of industrial activity right around what is now the downtown area, and tons of pollution in the water, and also waste, because the river flowed, let me think about this, it flowed into Lake Michigan, and they actually reversed the flow of the river to flow away from Lake Michigan to carry everything ultimately towards the Mississippi River, towards the Illinois River and then the Mississippi River, which resulted in a much cleaner, not only was the lake cleaner, but the river itself was cleaner, because the water coming in from the lake, which was cleaner, whatever. So but the history of the Chicago River has a huge role to play in the history of the city. It's really kind of remarkable. It is.
It's very remarkable. So let us know what you guys are up to this summer. If you're doing any fun plans, vacation, travel, staycation, or any fun things, events that are happening.
Pool life.
Yeah, pool
We're
life.
living the pool life.
Exactly. And leave a comment.
That's where I wore the cabana clothes.
Exactly. And we do want to have people comment and ask us questions and things like that to kind of like.
But only nice questions.
Yeah.
Only nice comments.
Don't be snarky. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you, like I mentioned before, you can find us on our website, intheshadowoftheeveningtrees.com. .com. You can see all the other 82 episodes before this one, and you can go back from the beginning. You can also leave us a direct message on our Instagram at Jen_and_Dave.
Yeah.
Jen and Dave.
With underscores in between.
Yes. But thank you for listening to this week's episode, and we hope you guys are having a good summer, and we will talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.
Bye.